So that's one thing. I think it's a fabulous experience. Another thing we do is we go to Margraten. Margraten is the second largest American cemetery. We do a wonderful thing there talking about, we have this guy that always works with us, it's American, English speaking, talks a little bit about the World War II campaign in that area. But the really interesting thing is they'll take them up to the sites, the grave sites, and they'll talk about the personal stories of various people along there. And I think if you talk to anybody that's been on this trip, you'll find out that this is a very powerful experience. If you've never been to an American cemetery like this, it is an absolutely beautiful place. But we will get into some discussions about World War II and what that means. We're not historians. We are not history teachers, so we are not going to be preaching about anything, but we will have discussions about World War II with the kids. Then we go Thursday, Fridays, like that game, that training game setup. The only difference with Friday, and this is really cool new things that we started a few years ago, I was liking the time after games in the canteen, but I wanted a little bit more of a deeper experience. So one of the things we did is we've been working with the same club every year, and for the past few years, where we actually go to their training grounds, a beautiful place on the border with Germany, and we actually have an experience where we mix you up with them. Now, I'm not saying this is really a Dutch immersion program. We're not teaching you Dutch, and it's not really an immersion program. But we thought, well, how do you get to know people? And sitting around a table is one way to get to know someone, but playing the game and actually having a round robin tournament where you and you are playing with Dutch players against you and you with Dutch players. And we'll have 4 teams, and we do a little round robin tournament, a small sided tournament. And we find that the kids get to know each other better. They get to play with each other, learn how the other players play. And it really helps facilitate the discussion after, the social time after. So you will have a time where you are mixed in with Dutch kids, playing with them, which I have found to be a really cool thing. I have some video of the games on my iPad. After that, we head back to Amsterdam. On Saturday is a free day, kind of a free day. We usually get up early in the morning. We will have free time in Amsterdam. And let me be very clear, when we talk about free time, it's not like, okay, Henry, it's 5:30, we'll meet you back here at 8 o'clock, okay? Have fun. We do not do that. When we say free time, what that means is like the boys group is going to go here, here, and here, and here. And you travel as a team. Now, maybe you and you want to go to the flower market, and you want to go and you want to buy some new sneakers. We'll split you off, but you don't get to go off on your own. You're going to go with a chaperone or one of the coaches. So it's not, when I talk about free time, it's not free time, okay? But we do want the kids to be able to choose things that they can do, and we want to be in the city. So generally, things that we'll normally do, there's a good shopping area that's great to see. The museum plane, where the Van Gogh Museum is and the Rijksmuseum is a really cool place to go, and some good shopping there. It's unrealistic to think that these guys are going to go to either of those museums, no matter how much you want them. It takes way too long to wait in line. It takes up too much time, and it takes away from doing other things. But the flower market is a fantastic place to go as well. Really great place to go. But we added a few other things. We will go to Johan Cruyff's childhood home. You'll see where if you've seen little pictures of him, videos of him playing on the streets, you'll be right on that street. You're going to watch him play where he played. You'll see where he hit the ball a million times up against the wall, over and over and over again. You'll see one of his playing courts that he developed, and he developed these all over the country. For me, it's a very emotional thing because I grew up idolizing this guy. But I think for you, it is a piece of history. We also, one of the cool things, really cool things, is we go to a farm on that day as well. At the farm, it's a Dutch farm. The farmer is Dutch. His wife is American. They have a farm that makes this fabulous Gouda. So I guarantee you kids will come back with Gouda as presents. But it's also a wooden shoe factory. And so you get to see how they make wooden shoes, Dutch wooden shoes. And you can buy them there. It's really a really cool place. Yes, you will go to a big, beautiful Dutch windmill. We will have that opportunity to take pictures in front of this Dutch windmill. But that's a day of just, really sightseeing, doing cultural activities, and also wrapping things up. Unless we are going to a game on that night, which will change that schedule a little bit. So that gives you, you're probably not going to process all that. You can watch this video and listen over again. I will send you basically a structure of what the trip is like. If you listening to it, there's a lot of soccer in here. We pack a lot into it, but we also inject some cultural things. Oh, I forgot one thing. You know what one of the coolest things will be? And I guarantee you that you guys will ask us to do this over and over and over and over again, is going to a supermarket. And the kids love this experience. They love going to a supermarket. They go through and they can buy whatever they want. You're going to get candy. You're going to get stroopwafels. You're going to get stuff like that. Yeah. But it's a great experience just to go through just a regular, everyday thing like that. So, again, some of the I talked about the biking. That's a big part of the trip, and I will warn you, you do need to spend some time getting on your bike and getting used to it.
Hand brakes or like feet brakes?
Good, hand brakes. Yeah, they have hand brakes, and they are more like what do you call them?
Beach bike.
They're like Zoe's beach bike. So Zoe, we can all practice on your bike. We do bring tools because sometimes they're hard to adjust and make them small enough. That's really important to make them fit. Some are bigger than others, so it's important that we match kids. So if you are a little bit smaller, you've got to make sure you have a bike that is one of the smaller ones. But that's a huge part, and you don't want to be miserable on a bike. The cultural activities, I tried to explain those. Those have been a really, really important part of this trip. But also, the discussions we have every night about the experiences that we have is also sort of what we think is an important thing. What that means is every night the coaches will have evening chats with the boys. They are all expected to bring a journal. We will have time that night writing in your journal. And that's an important part of just keeping track and helping process everything that you have gone through. I do want to talk a bit about a few other things regarding this trip that will not happen. And I need to be very clear about this. I've been in this meeting before and having an open argument with a parent. Oh, you need to show them the coffee houses. That's part of the Dutch culture. You need to show them the red light district because that's part of Dutch culture. Well, what I'm going to tell you right now is if you want your kids to be exposed to that, you can go yourself on your own trip. We will not have anything to do with that. The kids, Will there ever be a situation where they might walk by a coffee shop? That might happen. That might happen. But that is not going to be intentional. And so that is something that we just do not feel that's part of what we want to be focusing on. It's about Dutch soccer. It's about the Dutch culture and what's really special. You're going to see some beautiful, beautiful places. That's what we're focusing our time on. And you're going to see some beautiful soccer. That other stuff that is much more infamous, if you want to take your kids and have that experience with them, you're happy to do that. But that won't happen on our watch. Let me just say, I'll mention a few other things, and then we will talk about the money piece and the fundraising. Tuesday trainings. What we started about, I don't know how long ago that was. Might have been 10 years ago. We decided to add in some extra training just to help the kids. Because when we first started going over, we were noticing that kids weren't physically fit enough and not technically sharp enough to really make the trip truly valuable. It's going to be really important that kids are at the top of their game and at the top of their fitness. Because, think about it, biking, 2-hour training session, 2-hour training session, and a game. And I forgot to mention, all those games, you don't play 2 halves, you play 3 halves. I know that doesn't make any sense, but you actually play 3 halves. So, and you're sleeping in a strange bed. It's physically very demanding. So it's imperative that you are very fit and very strong. Starting literally the first week we're in, starts on November 5th. We go 4 to 6 every Tuesday, extra training. That's included in the fees and everything. Generally what we'll have is, the format is, we will have 3 coaches working with you every Tuesday. We'll be doing some mostly technical, some tactical stuff on 2 of the fields, and we'll even have another coach working with groups on the agility space, working on just getting stronger and fitter. That's going to be an important part. So every Tuesday it's 4 to 6. You're going to be out there, training. You will have 2 sessions with me, and these sessions are a little different than just a normal training session I have with you. I will talk a lot about the Dutch way, how Dutch coaches work with players. We'll talk about their philosophies. We'll talk about their communication styles. We will talk about how they run and interact with you. And that's one of the things I noticed when I first went over and Leo was working with Brad and Stage's group. Those boys in the first training session, they spent the whole time trying to figure out, okay, like what's going on here. It took them so long to adapt that I felt like that first session was like just getting used to the way Leo communicates and how he runs a session. So I run 2 sessions, just basically trying to train you to prepare you for those types of sessions. But we also talk about the Dutch principles that I think are really important for you to understand. This is generally going to be the case for us. We want our kids to be training outdoors more this year in preparation for the outdoor season. And now we want you training outdoors more just to be more prepared for this trip. You guys you get a big jump on the early season training. You get out there and you have this whole trip where you play so much soccer. You're going to be really sharp when you come back. But you got to get sharp, and that means training. So when we do our scheduling, we will have some outdoor training sessions, more outdoor training sessions than you had this past year. Yes, it might be under the lights. Yes, it might be cold, but I guarantee you, it'll make you stronger. And yes, you will be getting homework. So one of the things you'll need to do is, man, I say there's no substitute for the pavement. You got to get on the pavement. You got to hit it. You're gonna have to find extra day, extra 2 days where you get out and you're running to be fit. Now you can say, oh, if I go on a 2-hour run, it's not really soccer fitness. I don't care. It's fitness. It's building a base. Okay, and it will make you stronger. And when you make an investment in this time with this money, you want to make sure you get the most out of it. So you're going to be physically fit. You've got to put that extra time in. A few other things. Passport. If you don't have a passport, okay, get on it right away. Okay. Yes, the process goes much faster now, but still, it's better safe than sorry. Get your passports now. I will need actually picture pages. I need a copy of your picture page of your passport. I have trouble saying that. Because I need to make sure I get the exact spelling of your name for ticketing. I also use it, I need it for your birthday and all that stuff. I can get that other ways, but I also use that to make sure if you lose your passport on the trip, you have a copy of it. It's easier to get a duplicate. But I'll need that in January. So if you don't have your passport now, get it. If you don't know how to get it, I'll send you the details on how to get it. If you have a passport, this is very, very, very important. Who here has a passport? You need to go to that passport. You need to look at the expiration date. If the expiration date is within 6 months of your trip, okay? So we're getting back on April, what's the date again? April 26th? Okay. Can you do 6 months after April 26th?
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so let's count it together. So, all right.
May 26th?
Yeah, May 26th. I'm crumbling over somewhere. All right, so.
May?
So wait, what was the year? So okay, so May. So.
May.
Okay, so May, June, July, August, September, October.
So if your passport expires on October 26, 2020, it is not valid in Holland. So you need that 6 month buffer. Please, I don't want it to be April 1st. You're going like, uh-oh. So check your passport and make sure it's accurate, okay? I hate saying that, but we've had that situation before, and we had to do some quick work.
It's October 26th.
What?
October 26th?
Yeah. So, people always ask, what do we pack? I'll send you a packing list. I'm not going to go through a packing list now. It's not worth it. It's really quite straightforward. What I will explain at other meetings will be that we're going to train you to underpack, not overpack, and I'll explain that more. But what that means is when you pack for this trip, you're going to put everything you need on your bed, and you're going to cut it in half. You're going to pack light. And that's what the expectations are. And we'll talk more about that when I'll have 2 orientation sessions with players and families going over this stuff. But some important things to remember now is that there are a few things that you will need to purchase, or if you don't have them now. You're going to be expected, when you travel, you're going to be expected to wear your Holland training shirt. We will get these shirts for you for free. If you want to buy more of them, you can do that. But the first one's for free. You will be getting a very nice training ball. That will be yours to keep. It's yours to be on the trip. It's yours to keep forever. You're going to be expected to bring it to every training session in that spring as well. But it's yours to keep. We will buy that for you. But You will also be traveling with far post training jacket, far post training pants, and you'll need a far post backpack. We will look the same, okay? And I'm not going to have any arguments with any parents about this. We will look the same. We will look professional as a group. Communication. One of the key ways that we'll communicate, and this is, Facebook has really turned out to be a real gift, because what will do is with the boys group and with the girls group we'll create private Facebook pages, so there you'll be able to get updates. Our general practice is that we'll have one of the chaperones be responsible for taking pictures and setting up that site and managing that site. But the whole idea is just to give you as parents, pictures of the trip, videos of the trip, and stories from the trip. So, every once in a while, coach will get on and we'll write something up. But what will happen is on one night, okay, Jackson, you and Joshua, you're responsible for writing today's recap. So you'll have to go and write out what you did today and what you learned, and everybody will have to go in and make a report. So the kids will be responsible for things like that. But the whole idea is to give you parents some glimpse at what the kids are going through and what they're experiencing, see the pictures, get the updates on everything, and have some interaction there as well. Chaperones. Generally, the way we go about this is the coaches go on the trip, and sometimes we have other coaches go. And then we will have the general practice is having two parents go as parent chaperones, and half of their fees for the trip are paid through the fundraising, and the fundraising group we'll talk in a second. With the boys group, Brad will be going, and then between Brad and I, and we'll be working with Lee as well, be really trying to coordinate who the two chaperones will be for the boys. Stage is unable to go because of school and spring soccer obligations, so Gene Smith will be going in his place, and Stage will be involved in everything, and will also be helping us with the two chaperones. On the girls' side, I will be going on the trip, and I will be with them for, when we're together at Amsterdam, I'm with them, but then I will be staying in Maastricht, which is, so I'll spend some time with the girls alone, and then sometimes with the boys alone, and then we'll be back together in Amsterdam. We also have Jos and Koen that will be with us almost constantly. Jos and Koen, they'll feel like fathers to you in many ways, because they'll be looking after you. They'll know your name, you'll know their name. You'll ride along next to them when we're biking from one place to the other. So you'll get to know them, and you'll find that Bear and Leo will be by your side almost through half, if not most of the trip. If once we really want to have the chaperones picked by the January orientation date, so what I will be doing on this, I'm asking people to fill out this questionnaire. So on this, it will ask if you are interested in being a chaperone. One of the challenges is we had a lot of people that were interested last year, and the challenge is it's very difficult to take extra money out of fundraising to pay for a third person to go and pay half of their way. So what we have done in the past, generally, what our feeling is it's one chaperone to 10 to 12 kids. So if we had a big group, we can justify it. But I don't anticipate us having a group of 40 kids, meaning 40 girls or 40 boys. It's just not going to happen. We have had groups that big, so we were able to justify it. But with groups what I anticipate for the boys and girls, we can only really pay for two out of the fundraising, pay for 2 chaperones to go. If a parent wanted to go with our group and want to be a chaperone and could pay their way, that's obviously something that we would look into. The cost for the trip, and we'll get into the fundraising piece right here. The cost is $3,600. Now, what does that include? That includes all the training, the training leading up to that, so that you're not expected to pay for that extra training. Pays for the ball, but it pays for the bus up to Montreal and the bus back. It pays for the flights. It pays for all the hotel rooms. It pays for every single game, every single training session, every single meal. It pays for everything on the trip, with the exception of your own personal spending money. So when you go to the pro shops and you buy those really nice IX kits, that you're gonna have to pay for yourself. Okay. When you go to the grocery store and you want to buy stroke waffles for your mom and your dad, but you actually, I really like eating them, I'm going to have some, you have to pay for that yourself. Those types of things, those gifts and spending money on stuff like that, you have to plan for that yourself. But everything else on the trip is covered. Now, I know this is a lot of money, but I've always said that there is a way here, and I feel with something like this, I think there's an important message to be given here. I've seen it time and time again that young kids have an opportunity like this to go on a great trip where you're playing with Ajax and you're playing with PSV and you're seeing all these things in a special part of the world, and you don't put anything into the game. What I mean by that is, what are you doing as kids to make money for this? Are you expecting your parents to pay for all of it? Well, here it is. If your parents don't make you pay for a portion of this trip, you're losing out on a great opportunity here to really understand the value of something like this. I'm not going to tell any family how much they have to do, but you're losing a great opportunity here. You're losing a great opportunity to work your tail off. When I was growing up, my parents couldn't afford for me to go on these trips, so what I did is I mowed lawns, I shoveled driveways and porches and roofs, and did things like that, so that I split wood. I did hard labor to make money for things like this. You know what else I did? I also was deeply involved in every single fundraising activity. And so for each one of you, it needs to be your job to say, Mom, Dad, this is what I'm going to do. And start working. Start now, if you haven't already started. And, I want you guys to take responsibility here. I don't want to say to parents, okay, parents, you got to do this now. You guys take responsibility for this. Because the fundraising group, they've put together a good plan. You guys are going to make some good money. Okay? You're going to make some good money here. But if your parents do it all for you, it's not right. They're not going on the trip. You're going on the trip. And you need to work for it. You have to work hard for it. So, for parents, I strongly suggest that you have this conversation with your kids on what they're going to be responsible for. And I urge you to make them pay their way. My daughter's going, and she's already started working on that. And she's expected to pay a certain part, and she's expected to raise her own spending money. If they don't do well with fundraising, that means she has to raise more. I know people. Anybody know Patrick O'Hara? So you know Patrick O'Hara? Patrick O'Hara's parents didn't pay a cent for him to go. He worked for it all. He worked for it all. It's the reason why he was a 2-time All-American and is playing at Bucknell now. Okay? Shelby Hanlon. Do you know Shelby Hanlon? She's from Heinsberg. Shelby Hanlon, her parents didn't pay a cent. Didn't pay a cent. She worked for all of it. She did all the fundraising. She did all